workers in a neighbouring privately owned motorcycle factory who fear that in bad times government help will go to Meriden and that they will be left out in the cold. Mr. Ben hopes to assuage their fears later this week. He is still determined to go ahead with the Meriden Workers' Cooperative. Well, with background to this experiment, here's Tony Francis from Birmingham.
The saga began in September last year. BSA Triumph had been taken over by Manganese Bronze, and there emerged a new company, Norton Villiers Triumph. Then came the bombshell. Because of a 3-year loss of £16 million, Triumph Meriden, the place where the world-famous Triumph motorbike made its name, was to close down. Trade union reaction was swift. All executive management was banned from the plant, and a work-in began. Production continued as normal, but the bikes were stockpiled inside the factory. Already, expert opinion had been sought about running Triumph as a workers' cooperative. Within weeks of the closure announcement, it was put forward as a formula to save the 1,750 jobs. The cooperative would buy the plant from the parent company and produce Triumph motorcycles as a separate commercial entity. Nevertheless, the Norton Villiers Triumph chairman, Mr. Demise, announced that the plant would close, not in February, as he had previously announced, but on November the 9th. So, almost a year ago, the Meriden workforce became redundant. By then, they had 2,000 motorbikes stockpiled and a 24-hour picket rota to make sure nothing left the factory. Meanwhile, the Workers' Committee were negotiating with the Department of Trade and Industry and the parent company to buy the plant. The then Industry Secretary, Mr. Christopher Chataway, was interested, but it wasn't until the Labour government came into office that things started moving. Even though the new Industry Secretary, Tony Benn, was still uncertain about the viability of the scheme, he thought it was an experiment worth giving a chance. On July the 26th this year came the statement that £4.8 million of public money would be given to the workers to buy the plant. All that remained was for Norton Villiers Triumph and the Meriden workers to finalise the deal, and that process is still underway. Well, during the last year, of course, a number of the men have found other jobs, but the majority have stuck it out in their determination to make British trade union history. One of them is George Golby. He'd been in the machine shop for 14 years. What had kept him going over the last year?
Dedication to the name of Triumph.
What does Triumph mean to you then?
Oh, hell of a lot. It's a symbol, isn't it, to the people here that have been dedicated on these picket lines to bring about the success of the cooperative. I didn't actually from the off start to fight for the cooperative because it was just a name at that particular time. But my sole purpose and dedication was the sole thing we're all born with, the working class, and that is the right to work.
And you were determined to see it through whatever happened?
Yeah, whatever happened, whatever the consequences.
Well, what has it been like for you financially over the last 12 months?
Terrible.
You've been living on the dole and redundancy money, I take it.
The things you've been used to over the past years have gone, isn't it? What is the dole? It's, as I said, it's mere existence money, isn't it? You live from day to day.
But even undergoing that, you wouldn't give in for it at any price?
No, not at all. The day he announced the closure here, and we held a mass meeting on a car park, that if you wanted the likes of me off this property, then he would have to drag me off.
How do you think the cooperative can work, though, without any management experience?
It just can't, can it? So we've naturally brought about the employment of these people, which we have. We have people here, professional management, to work alongside the board of the cooperative.
Now, you've had a government grant of nearly £5 million, which of course is taxpayers' money. Do you feel a great sense of responsibility towards the taxpayer to make this a success?
We do.
You think you can pay that money back, do you?
Yes. By the same determination as we've had on the picket lines. And that determination is to make this a success.
For the first 2 years, the cooperative would market its bikes through the Norton Villiers Triumph network. Most of them would be destined for the United States, where the Triumph bike is still in tremendous demand. After the 2 years, the position would be reviewed. One of the men who's been costing the scheme is Lionel Hornby. He's one of the office staff who was sacked along with the other workers. What did he think of the 2-year arrangement?
Well, I think it's quite satisfactory as an interim period. It'll save a lot of problems in the marketing and product liability areas.
What happens after the first 2 years, though?
Well,
ideally,
it may be. We can't be sure, but it may suit us to stay with this ball. We can't be sure about this, or MBT. But ideally, I'd like to market our own bikes, of course, and coming to some agreement with the American dealers.
Has there been any temptation for you to pack this in and get another job?
Well, certainly, at the outset, but for different reasons. I was just bloody fed up, quite honestly, with industrial problems, profit motives and piecework and all the rest of it. But it became, after about 2 or 3 months, through working with the men, you know, and the pickets, I began to see a change in attitude. The idea of the cooperative intrigued me. So eventually I committed myself to it, and since about last February time, I never even thought about getting another job. I came committed to it and sort of I'll see that to the bitter end.
If this cooperative doesn't work, ultimately, will you regret doing what you've done?
Oh no, I'll never regret it. No, it's been a great experience.
So what of the future? Well, the obstacle now is the feeling of the workers at Norton Villiers Triumph headquarters in Small Heath, Birmingham. They've never been keen on the cooperative idea because they saw it as a threat to themselves. The feeling still exists that Meriden would be the government's blue-eyed boy, that if there was another squeeze, they would suffer because Meriden wouldn't be allowed to fail. Well, Mr. Ben has been trying to reassure them today. Throughout, one thing hasn't suffered. That's the relationship between the workers at Small Heath and their Meriden colleagues. Despite conflicting views, the two groups have got on remarkably well.
And that report was by Tony Francis. For the Secretary of Industry, Mr. Anthony Wedgwood Benn, the Workers' Cooperative at Meriden represents, and I quote, a great turning point in the history of British industry. Trade union officials have been quick to insist that the cooperative is not a political gimmick, nor a camouflaged handout to the unemployed. Ken Coates is Senior Lecturer in Sociology at Nottingham University and the author of a book entitled Can the Workers Run Industry? I asked him, what are the prospects for a successful workers' cooperative in Britain?
Well, I think at the moment the prospects are really rather bright, although unfortunately, because the prospects for the rest of the economy are rather dismal. And we're in a situation in which large numbers of firms are in considerable difficulty with all sorts of squeezes on them. And workers have been making it plain over and over again during the last 2 years that they expect their jobs to have greater security than has been the case in the past. So if firms go bankrupt or if there are takeovers or mergers which would in the past have led to large-scale redundancies, nowadays this just isn't accepted and the chaps either sit in or work in, and now we have this relatively new development that the government can be brought in and cooperatives can be started.
Have there been other industrial workers' cooperatives in this country?
Yes, there have. The history of cooperation, of course, goes back more than a century. Workers always objected, if they were given half a chance, to being employed by bosses. And in fact, the first trade unions were at least as much co-op as they were trade union. There were a whole series of producer co-ops established in the last quarter of the last century, some of them as a result of industrial disputes of one kind or another. In general, these experiments tended to work in very labour-intensive industries, and the co-ops that survived were things like shoemaking and haberdashery and printing and so on, where the technology was rather slower to develop than it was in, let's say, the heavy industry sector.
But all that you've been saying suggests that historically co-ops haven't been very successful.
That's entirely the fact. Not only have they not been successful in the sense that they found it extremely difficult to get the money to compete with large-scale private enterprise working outside them, they also found it difficult to stay co-ops when they were successful because there was a constant tendency for them to differentiate. In fact, the historians of this producer co-op movement in general tend to point out that over 20 or 30 years, most producer co-ops turned into something very like joint stock companies.
Isn't it perhaps that trained professional managers are more likely to be successful in running a business than shop floor workers?
Well, this isn't really a question, you see, of whether the chaps who are managers should be trained or not. It's a question of to whom should they be accountable. And the educational gap between shop floor workers and technicians and the people that you would normally call managers today is very much smaller than it was, let's say, in 1875. The nature of technology is completely different. The scale at which industry is organised is different. All of these things mean that, in fact, lots of things that were quite rational 50 years ago are really rather daft today.
So you expect Meriden to be a success?
Oh, I'm sure it will be a success in its own terms in the short run. It could be a success in the long run, but the problem there is how these chaps can link together with other people in the same situation to establish large-scale operative production.
But are we looking at success in different ways? I mean, surely it's going to be a success because you and me and other taxpayers in Britain are forking up £5 million to put this cooperative into action.
Well, I really don't think that that's a very large sum of money if you look at the very many millions of pounds that we fork out to keep private businesses of one kind or another in being.
But Mr. Coates, what I'm suggesting is that it's simply another way of distributing national... is the attitude of workers in a neighbouring privately owned motorcycle factory who fear that in bad times government help will go to Meriden and that they will be left out in the cold. Mr. Ben hopes to assuage their fears later this week. He is still determined to go ahead with the Meriden Workers' Cooperative. Well, with the background to this experiment, here's Tony Francis from Birmingham.
The saga began in September last year. BSA Triumph had been taken over by Manganese Bronze, and there emerged a new company, Norton Villiers Triumph. Then came the bombshell. Because of a 3-year loss of £16 million, Triumph Meriden, the place where the world-famous Triumph motorbike made its name, was to close down. Trade union reaction was swift. All executive management was banned from the plant, and a work-in began. Production continued as normal, but the bikes were stockpiled inside the factory. Already, expert opinion had been sought about running Triumph as a workers' cooperative. Within weeks of the closure announcement, it was put forward as a formula to save the 1,750 jobs. The cooperative would buy the plant from the parent company and produce Triumph motorcycles as a separate commercial entity. Nevertheless, the Norton Villiers Triumph chairman, Mr. Demise, announced that the plant would close, not in February, as he'd previously announced, but on November the 9th. So, almost a year ago, the Meriden workforce became redundant. By then, they had 2,000 motorbikes stockpiled and a 24-hour picket rota to make sure nothing left the factory. Meanwhile, the Workers' Committee were negotiating with the Department of Trade and Industry and the parent company to buy the plant. The then Industry Secretary, Mr. Christopher Chataway, was interested, but it wasn't until the Labour government came into office that things started moving. Even though the new Industry Secretary, Tony Benn, was still uncertain about the viability of the scheme, he thought it was an experiment worth giving a chance. On July the 26th this year came the statement that £4.8 million of public money would be given to the workers to buy the plant. All that remained was for Norton Villiers Triumph and the Meriden workers to finalise the deal, and that process is still underway. Well, during the last year, of course, a number of the men have found other jobs, but the majority have stuck it out in their determination.